Hi, it's Penny here. Welcome to another reading vlog. This week, I was thinking about trying to mood read. I made a plan to mood read for a week. Usually, I love planning my reading. Isn't making a plan just so much fun? And also, I kind of find making the decision in the moment about what I read a little bit overwhelming. And so I kind of like just having a plan and being able to follow the plan rather than having to stop and work out what I feel like reading. But this week we're going to try mood reading, sort of. For the audiobooks that I'm going to read, I do have some JP Pomare thrillers, mystery thrillers, that were on my monthly TBR. So that's what I'm going to start with for audiobooks. But the ones I want to read are basically I've got 3 really short stories by him, they're 5-hour audiobooks. I think all of them are about 5 hours long, which is quite short when I normally listen to things at 2 times speed. And I do think reading all 3 of those might get to be a bit too much. So I will mood read in terms of if it feels like those audiobooks aren't what I'm in the mood for, then maybe we'll pick up a different audiobook. I don't know. I don't have a selection to choose from, and just choosing from anything seems like too much. So what I did in terms of my reading with my eyes books that I want to read is I got a couple of books from the library, and then I also got out, you can't really see that, but in Libby, I got a bunch of books out of the library, ebooks that I'll be able to read on my Kobo. And I figured, telling myself I can mood read and just pick from anything in the whole world, I can't. But mood reading with this kind of selection, at least as a starting point, I think I can do that. So the problem is, once I decided I had a plan to mood read for a week, every time I would think about this week, I'd be like, what should I read? Maybe I'll make a plan about where to start. And I've been trying so hard not to make a plan, even though my brain constantly wants to make a plan. I want to pick the book before I'm ready to read it. However, it's now late in the evening. I'm about to go to bed and read. So what do I feel like reading before bed tonight? And then I guess when I read tomorrow morning, if I'm in a different mood, I should pick up something different. Is that how mood reading works? I don't know. The other problem I have is that I'm looking at the books I have a hold on or that I have out, and some of them say that other people are waiting. And so I'm like, should I read those ones first? Because I won't be able to renew them. But that's wrong. That's not what mood readers do, right? Mood readers look at this and just go, what is calling to me? What do I feel like reading the most? I mean, I wanted to read Parable of the Sower soon because it is set in, I actually think it's set last year and this year. So I would like to read it sooner rather than later. And both of these, I think I had on my Reddit fantasy bingo board, as well as my 5-star predictions, I think. But then I also have the Reindeer People here that I had as a 5-star prediction. I guess when I look at this, the books that I am the most excited to read right in this moment is actually either The Reindeer People by Megan Lindholm, which is a pen name for Robin Hobb, or Piranesi. Piranesi? I don't know. Piranesi would be quite weird. Do I feel like reading a weird, confusing book? Do you know? I think actually I'm going to pick up Piranesi first. I don't know if I'm picking it for a mood kind of reason, but I'm picking it up because it's the one that sounds the most weird, and I don't really know what to expect with it. These, I think I know what to expect. Most of the other ones on this list, I think I know what to expect. But Piranesi, I don't know what to expect. So if I try it, we can see if I feel like continuing it. Am I doing this right? Hello, good morning. So last night I did start Piranesi. I just confidently started vlogging in public, and then I looked up and there's a guy right near me and I was embarrassed. Anyway, I was telling you that last night I did start Piranesi, and in the beginning I actually wasn't that into it. I was kind of struggling because,
you don't really know what's going on and nothing makes sense. And I was thinking, like, would a mood reader give up at that point? Because I feel like maybe a mood reader would have given up. And I was thinking I should, but it's just not me. So I kept pushing through, and actually I'm glad I did, because I've ended up really loving it. I'm not very far in. I think my Kobo was saying like 16%. But so far, basically, we've been introduced to Piranesi. He's this guy. He lives in this like giant, endless series of halls filled with all these different statues. And his perception is really weird. Like, there's one point where he decides to tell you the 15 people that have ever existed. And 2 of them are him and the other that he lives with, or that exists in these halls with him and that he occasionally talks to. And then there's also these other people that are not quite so relevant. He really frames himself as a scientist, so he only believes in things that he has evidence of, but the evidence he has and the things he believes don't always line up. Like, there's one journal entry which is, do trees exist? And he's found this leaf that he thinks isn't seaweed like most of the other leaves he's seen, so it must be trees. It's just very bizarre. There's some weird capitalization going on. There's definitely been a few hints about what's really going on, but I still am far from working it out. I do have a theory, but I think if I'm right, I'm going to be disappointed, because it's not a very good theory, or like it's something I've seen done before, and I would hope that this would be more unique than that. Also, the wind is coming up just now. Like, normally when I'm vlogging, I have a lot of problems with wind out in the world, but with this new mic and this new camera, maybe you can't hear it. Anyway, I'm not far through Piranesi, but I am excited enough that I'm sure even mood reader me, whoever she is she even a real person? Does she exist? I'm sure I want to continue Piranesi when I get home, although I have some other things I need to do as well to like make up for my lack of productivity lately. And like, I actually spent like the last couple of days mostly reading because I wasn't feeling that well. And so now my brain is like, let's keep reading. But sadly, I can't do it. There are these, can I just flip you around? Oh, they've gone. There's these swallows flying around me. Why are they doing that? They're crazy. I don't know if you'll be able to even see them because they're so little, but they're doing a dance for me. Anyway, flies past just as I flip the camera. Anyway, what else? Oh, so while I've been on my run and doing some errands, I did also start Don't Look Back by J.P. Pomare. So this is a mystery thriller, pretty short. I'm already, I think, like 60% of the way through. Basically, we're following this woman who lives out in the middle of nowhere in New Zealand, because it seems like something happened in America where she's from, and she's like in hiding on the run. And that's going well until she goes into town and there's this young boy choking and she saves his life, which ends up going viral, which is the last thing she wanted. And things are getting kind of into that thrillery, intense part. There's been a couple of, like, I guess what you could call twists. We'll see how many J.P. Pomare can fit in such a short little novel. He's usually pretty good at it. Anyway, I am getting far enough across this park where I will get far too close to people and I will not be confident vlogging outside. So I'll update you again when I get home and when I've done some more reading. Hello. So I still feel like I don't really know what I'm doing with this camera. Although, I mean, is this going to be worse than my last clip? Probably not, because that was not that great in terms of making myself look nice, but that's just my self-esteem. It doesn't really matter. What I did want to do though is quickly update you before I get any further into Piranesi, because I'm now 75% of the way through and I'm actually hoping maybe I could finish it off tonight and tomorrow morning, because at this point there's no way that mood reader me would not want to finish it off. I'm really enjoying like the mystery of working out what's going on. I think about 25% of the way through, you do actually get a little bit of an idea, like you start to get clues.
And in some ways, like, so Piranesi has these journals that you're reading where he's written down everything that's ever happened to him. And he has this whole system. But he's kind of realized that he's forgetting some things. And so he's going back and reading past journal entries. But a lot of what he is reading or discovering, he's like, well, that doesn't make any sense. But then you, as the reader, almost understand it better than he does. So it's quite an interesting concept. So both you and Piranesi are trying to work out what's going on. But even though you're getting the same information, you're coming to like completely different conclusions about what's going on. And just like trying to follow sometimes Piranesi's logic and like the way that he's thinking about it is, I don't know, like an interesting change of perspective. And I do like what is actually going on. It is unique. It's interesting because I could see this being written in a very different way in a different author's hands or at a different time. But Piranesi's perspective is so different. I don't know. I do think as well, like there's some parts where the descriptions of this world that Piranesi is living in, these like endless halls filled with statues, every now and then the writing is very beautiful, but at the same time it's mixed in with this very like functional journal writing, and some of the stuff that it's talking about is less magical. And I almost wish that this was a little bit more magical. Like I feel like when I heard other people talk about it, I thought it was going to be more magical than it is. But I'm still enjoying, like I think I'm just enjoying the mystery of it and trying to figure out what's going on. So I'm going to go to bed now, actually, and I'm going to try and finish it off. Okay, so I just had to stop recording because these people came along. I was embarrassed, but not as embarrassed as I would have thought. However, then, because I kind of put my mic down while they came along in a minute. Oh, now there's a car over there, I've just noticed. Anyway, I can still use this separately, but I still don't trust the wind. Anyway, the summary is my camera's SD card just had a spaz as well. So now I've got people, wind, SD card. Maybe I should not be filming. Maybe I'll update you when I get home. I think it's a sign. Hello, so I am home and using my camera that I know much better about how to use. I ended up losing the footage that I just filmed while I was out, and I had to reformat my whole SD card. I want to pretend that I've never had those issues with my old camera, but the truth is I have. So at the moment, we'll just look at it as a one-off glitch and we'll see. Maybe I have to buy a better, more expensive SD card. I'd rather not. But anyway, let me actually update you on what I've been reading. So I did this morning finish off Piranesi. I think the ending, like the bit that I read last night, was actually a lot more action than I was expecting from this kind of book. And I was very engaged in everything that was happening and like what the outcome was going to be. And then this morning I kind of finished it off, and the stuff I was reading this morning was a lot more kind of melancholic as we came to a resolution of the story. And I do think it wrapped up in a fairly satisfying way. I still don't know how I feel about this story. Like I can definitely see why a lot of people love it. I also would imagine a lot of people would pick this up and not enjoy like the mystery of what's going on at all. Like you kind of have to spend a lot of the book reading things that you don't understand, or just following along with Piranesi as he goes through these halls of like endless statues and just goes about his like life trying to survive, like fishing and collecting water and all those kind of essentials. So some parts of it are almost dull, but then the mystery is what makes it interesting. And in those little bits of beautiful descriptions of this house and these endless halls of statues. But I think in the end I was quite satisfied with the ending. I don't know. I have to sit with that one a bit, I think, and think about it some more. Part of me wishes it was a little bit more magical. I think what's really going to stick with me about that story is just like the possibility of what this house could be. Anyway, I'm glad that I've read that now and that I actually know what that book is about. I don't think it's what I expected, even though it kind of is at the same time. Anyway, now that I finished that, I am going to pick up another book, and I went to the library while I was out, and I was going to show you while I was out the books that I got. Most of them are books that are on my June TBR, even though some of these I'm going to listen to the audiobooks. Actually, most of these I'm going to listen to the audiobooks. Not this one, but the rest, I think. I'd like to have the physical books anyway if I can get them from the library. But also, I decided to get out the Reindeer People because I think I'm going to read this next. Because when I looked at the list of books that I'm considering for this video, this is my next most 5-star prediction. And I feel like I'm doing mood reading wrong. Like, all I'm really doing is reading books that I'm curious about or books that I think I'm really going to love. I'm not really basing it on my mood. Like, if I was picking this up based on my mood, I would need to be in the mood to be like emotionally destroyed, as I know Robin Hobb could do for me. But like, am I ever not in the mood to have a book emotionally destroy me? I guess maybe sometimes. Maybe my mood just doesn't change enough for me to be a proper mood reader. Is that my problem with mood reading? I don't know. But anyway, I'm going to read this. I think I'm in the mood to read this. So this, what I know about it is we're following this woman who's been living with this tribe of people. Her son is, I don't know, I think he reads as kind of autistic, and he's become involved with this shaman who's trying to introduce him to the magic of the world. But our main character, Tilu, I think, she doesn't really like this shaman. He's made some like gross advances towards her, and like how he's bringing her son into the magic doesn't seem that great either. So she's decided to leave. I think also because there was some like illness that went through the children of the village, and they kind of blame her for that as well because she's the healer. So she's decided, even though it's beginning to be winter, which is the worst time to be off by yourself, that her and her son are gonna go find somewhere else. That's as much as I know from having read the first chapter previously, but it's Robin Hobb, even though it's written as Megan Lindholm. So I'm hoping to really love it. And it's not that long for a Robin Hobb book, so hopefully it won't take me that long to get through. As well, I did listen to my audiobook while I was out and about. So I finished off Don't Look Back. What we really learnt about this woman is that when she was young, she was raised by her father, who was like a prepper or a survivorist. Is that how you say it? Anyway, so she's learned a lot of survival skills as a result of that, which has really helped her when she had to go on the run for whatever happened that you learn about. So it's kind of skipping between the two timelines. One is her past, which caused her to have to run away and hide out in the middle of nowhere, New Zealand. And the other one is now her kind of having her past catch up with her. I do think in the second half of the book, it got a little bit confusing at times because the two timelines had very similar things happening and like very similar pacing. And so sometimes I would feel a little bit confused about which timeline we were in, or like when it would change timeline, it would take me a little bit of time to figure it out, even though I think the audiobook had little like it would say the name that she was working under at that time, would say the name at the start of the chapter, but because I knew her as both those names, it didn't really like properly switch me into the other timeline. So sometimes I got a little bit confused because of that, but it was definitely quite thrilling. Not too many twists, at least at the end, but I still think he did a pretty good job of packing like a fairly decent amount of story into such a short little audiobook. And I think I just like reading stories set in New Zealand, so I enjoyed it. I will say there were some American accents that I thought might have been a little bit not quite right, so I don't know what that would be like reading that as an American. Then I have started the next one by him, so it's called Home Before Night. This one's only like a 4.5-hour audiobook, and it's like a woman who, well, it starts out with her, she's just had this baby, and then she goes for a swim in the ocean, she nearly drowns, and as a result, I think that's made her kind of obsess over being there for her son and making him her whole life. And then now it's set in like lockdown COVID times, and there's just been another lockdown announced, and she lives with her son who's now like a teenager, and he doesn't appear to be coming home, and she keeps ringing him like, hey, you got to be home by 8 o'clock, it's lockdown from then, so they're saying you need to be home and you can't leave, and he's not replying to her phone calls. And I can feel her spiraling already. So we'll see where that one goes. It is interesting in post-COVID times to read stories written set in COVID. Kind of takes you back. Not nostalgia exactly, but something similar. Okay, so I'm at my desk today instead of on my armchair, trying to be somewhat productive, but to be honest, kind of failing as well in terms of reading. I haven't read that much since I last talked to you. I think I've only read like the first 3 chapters of the Reindeer People, and I actually think that maybe I read the first 2 when I did the original Try a Chapter. So most of what I read over the last couple of days, did it really take me that long? I think so. Most of what I'd read previously. However, I had kind of forgotten how much Robin Hobb managed to make me hate this shaman in those first couple of chapters. Like, I hate him so much. So much. As well, though, I did read 1 more chapter. 2 more chapters? Yeah, 2 more chapters. The 3rd chapter was really just about how much this woman is struggling in this tribe that they're in, but also struggling with her son, who's so different from other people, and she kind of feels like he is a burden, to be honest, but she kind of has the opportunity to leave him behind, but she loves him too much to do it, so it's kind of like this internal struggle that she's going through. And then the 4th chapter is actually following someone completely different. So I think we're going to get this guy's perspective. I'm wondering if he's like a love interest type thing for this mother. He is like a younger man living in these reindeer herders. So I assume they are the reindeer people. And his family is now quite poor because of some awful events that have kind of happened. And there's a lot about just what his life was like and his struggles. And I guess next they'll come together, but we will see. I will try to actually read some more of this soon. I don't think I read much more. I did listen to a little bit more of Home Before Night, but hardly anything. That one as well, actually, we got a little bit of the son's perspective, so another perspective I wasn't expecting, or like a guy's perspective I wasn't expecting. And it's very clear that something's going on with him. So his mother's worries aren't completely unfounded, but also the way that she's reacting does feel quite over the top. So I'm enjoying kind of the like building intensity, but at the same time, it is a lot of just this woman being a panicky mother, which isn't exactly that enjoyable to read. So I think I'm probably going to be glad that that's a fairly short audiobook. Maybe tomorrow I will go for a run and finish that off, but who knows? Hello! So I just filmed my May TBR and it was really long. So I'm somewhat dead now, but also now I get to find homes on my shelves for all of these books, which some of these will be obvious. Some of these I don't actually know where I'm going to put them, but I'm sure I will find space. I've only read 1 more chapter of The Reindeer People since I last talked to you. I have just been falling asleep and then sleeping in. So the whole morning reading and night reading has not been working out, but we'll try and get a little bit more of this read today, even though I just spent my whole afternoon filming my wrap-up. So we're losing time today quickly. And I don't really have much more to say other than I just read a chapter. I will say, so the other thing that I did do is finish off Home Before Night. Is that what it's called? I think so. And I realized that both of these books are kind of similar in that they're both about mothers. But in Home Before Night, what an annoying woman. Like, I was so frustrated with her, and especially with her selfishness. And I think you're supposed to be. But I was trying to think about, like, why am I so frustrated with her and not with this woman? But Robin Hobb is just so amazing at making you feel what the characters are feeling. And, like, I think when I was talking about Home Before Night before, I was saying, like, it's not nice or not enjoyable to be reading this woman, like, spiraling and panicking. So why do I enjoy so much Robin Hobb when she writes these like really painful emotions. I think it's because she makes you care about the characters and relate to what they're feeling, whereas in Home Before Night, you're just annoyed with her the whole time. I will say for Home Before Night, there was a twist. I think if you read a lot of thrillers, or like if I'd been paying a little bit more attention, I think I would have got it. But as I didn't, it was quite a nice surprise. It's always the problem with thrillers a little bit like that if you get it, you figure it out early on, then it's not quite as satisfying. So you almost get punished for being smart. Anyway, short little thriller story. I had a lot of fun with it. I enjoyed the twists along the way, even though I hated the main character for most of the time. At this, yeah, I'm really enjoying it, even though I haven't been finding time to continue it. So hopefully I'll find some more time soon. Hello. So it has actually been like a week and a half, I think, since I last updated this vlog, because a bit of a medical story. I woke up like a week and a half ago, and I felt like I'd been hit on the side of the head. Like I had a really sore jaw to the point where like I couldn't chew on that side. Like it was so sore. And I also had like a bump on my head, and it was kind of red. And it was especially weird because I'd just been reading this book, right? And in this book, there's a woman who gets hit on the side of the head and like breaks her jaw. So like I felt like I was exhibiting the symptoms of this woman in this book, and I was like, that's not right. Also, like nothing had happened to me, so why did I feel like that? Still not really sure. And then like over the next couple of days, I kept being like fevers and chills and just feeling awful. Actually, I felt a little bit better on the second day, and so I washed my hair, and this is where maybe things get confusing. Basically, my jaw got better. The bump on my head turned into like a rash that basically like dripped down my whole face. I did go to the emergency room, and the doctor told me, oh yeah, that's contact dermatitis. You can see it dripping down your face. It's going to drip down your whole face, which it did. So it like started on my forehead, went into my eyes, went down my cheeks, went in my ears. My ears honestly were burning like about 1,000,000,000 degrees. It was awful. It went all in my nose, which all swelled up. It was horrible. And I don't really know what caused it. Like, part of me feels like maybe I also had something else going on, because I felt terrible, not just like in my face. But who really knows, because I feel better in that way now. But now, basically, I'm too scared to put on makeup and too scared to wash my hair, although I will need to wash my hair soon. So I guess we'll have to see. Like, I honestly have no theories about what it could be, but it certainly would make sense for it to be something more in my hair, since it started in my hairline and then dripped down. But who knows? Who knows? So at some point I'll be brave and wash my hair, but not today. I've been waiting just for my face to be like properly recovered, which it's nearly there, maybe. Anyway, since I was feeling terrible all that time, I did do some reading, not as much as I maybe could have, partly because some of the time I just had such a headache and I felt terrible. I did listen to some audiobooks during that time, so I can't remember what I last updated you. I haven't looked at the footage yet, but I finished off Trapdoor by J.P. Pomare. Basically, it starts out with these people like waking up in this basement, and they don't know why they're there, and they're locked in, and also it's being streamed. And we're also following these cops trying to track them down. So it's a little bit like Passengers by John Mars, but not quite as good. Like, it tried to pull in a lot of things. I did like it. I thought it was okay. It was very short though, and the very ending was quite cheesy, but it was a good entertaining read or entertaining listen while I like lay there on my deathbed with my eyes closed. And then the other audiobook, I have it here, that I was listening to while I was dying is Chosen Ones by Veronica Roth. So this, I don't know if maybe I would have liked it more, one, if I hadn't been dying and so I'd been paying more attention, or two, if I'd actually read it physically. The audiobook narrator, like, it's full cast, but the main narrator is Dakota Fanning. And in the beginning, I thought she was doing a really good job. But as it went on, I was just more and more annoyed by her really flat delivery. I think in the beginning, I thought it suited the character, but as like things around her got more and more intense, that flat delivery just felt really like inappropriate, like it didn't fit the story. And I'm kind of frustrated because there's a lot in this that is elements that I often really love, but I don't know if I like the way the story was told. In the beginning, we kind of get, so I haven't told you about this book at all, I don't think. So this is a story about basically these five, right? Yeah, five chosen ones that have defeated the Dark One. So this big bad guy came along, he was killing all these people, and they were the chosen ones from this prophecy, or at least they were the five people that fit the prophecy, and then they defeated the Dark One. And now they're like trying to live their lives, but quite traumatized by everything that happened. And now there's kind of some more weird things happening, and they're like not really up to having to face down another bad guy. But it actually gets weirder and twistier in a way that I think I should have liked. But something about the way that the plot was revealed, like through multiple timelines and kind of, I don't know, it just felt all over the place and didn't really come together in a way that felt satisfying to me. And I was also quite frustrated in the beginning. We're kind of introduced to our main character, Sloane, and she's very traumatized. And I really thought we would get a lot more kind of about her emotional journey, whereas that kind of fell by the wayside as the story went on. So I don't know. I think this was okay, but I think I would have liked it better if I'd read it physically, which I was not capable of doing at the time. And maybe if I'd paid more attention, I don't know. I feel like it had a lot of potential, didn't live up to it. Okay, anyway, got distracted. So since I last updated you, I also finished off the Reindeer People. I don't actually know if I told you anything about this so far. I think I filmed an update on my other camera and the SD card is corrupted and I need to get a new one, and that's a whole different problem that I'm having that on my list of problems is not that high. So anyway, this I really liked. It was super emotional. I will say, I think the ending kind of left things just hanging, and I think probably I do need to pick up the sequel. So it's only a duology and it's quite short. I feel like it actually could have been one book, but I don't know. It's been a while since I finished this now, and so maybe it's lost in the fog of being sick. But all the emotions you'd expect of Robin Hobb, I remember actually most of this book, I spent a lot of time being like, oh no, because things would happen and I would think when other people find out about that, that is going to be a problem. Although actually not everything has come out in this book, so I expect the next book will also have a lot of problems. But I'm hopeful for a happy ending, maybe. I'll try and pick up the next book sometime soonish, but who really knows? I have lots of books that I want to read. And the other reason why I haven't been reading as much lately is I got Hello Kitty Adventure Island on my Switch. So I've been playing that a lot and I'm not mad about it. I've been enjoying playing it. It's super cute. And kind of like sometimes when you're sick, you just need something even less, like I was going to say less brainless than reading, but you know what? Reading isn't brainless. But reading was just a bit too much for me at times. And I've been enjoying playing a nice, cute little game. But I did read some more things. So this one I talked about, this one. I read The Imaginary Lives of James Pōneke. So this is by a New Zealand author. It's a story about this young boy in the 1800s, young Maori boy, whose parents are killed and he is kind of adopted by this missionary and ends up going with this artist over to England to be part of this artist's exhibition. And it's interesting because a lot of people would assume, and people do assume, that he's being kind of taken advantage of, but also he's the one who really manipulated himself to be able to be in this position because he wanted to explore the world and he wanted to learn more. And I actually, about the first third was just his experience in New Zealand as a young boy, kind of without any family support in this time when the Europeans were colonizing the country and things were all a mess. Are they still? Yes. And then the next third was kind of him arriving in England and his whole experience of that. I really liked the way some of the descriptions in this book were done. Like the feeling of arriving in London, he thinks it's going to be like this big, amazing place, this shining glory. And then he arrives and it's just like smoke and smog and grossness. And he's like, what, which is how I feel about London, even though I've never been there. And just like his, like when he's missing New Zealand, I felt I could really relate to that, even though I am here, I am enjoying it. Then the last third kind of just slipped into a bit of a tragedy, and I didn't really like the ending. I felt like it felt in a lot of ways like a different story. So I was a bit disappointed by the very ending of this, but overall, I think it is a really interesting book. I feel like I'll probably be able to wrap these up better in my actual wrap up when my brain is working better. Anyway, the one other thing that I've been reading is Age of War. I think I'm about 2/3 of the way through, so I might just finish this off and then finish off this vlog. What is this vlog now? Who knows? I don't remember. So yeah, I'm about 2/3 of the way through this. So this is the third book in the Legends of the First Empire, which is a 6-book series, although he always has quite a big, long, detailed, like, author's note at the beginning of these books. So he explained there that it was actually going to be a trilogy, but he got to this book and he was like, no, this needs to be longer. So I think some things will still be wrapped up in this book. So I'm enjoying this a lot. I will say sometimes, I don't know. I don't know how to phrase my critique of it. I really like this. I think some moments in this are like magical. I really like all the characters. I will say there's a lot of like romantic pairings forming in this, and I care nothing about any of them except for the only ones I really care about is Gifford and Roan, and even then, sure, I care more about them as characters as opposed to as a couple. And any of the other kind of like romantic were in here, I'm like, so boring. I don't care. But a lot of the other parts of the story are really good. There are some really great lines. And even though, like, I think actually what I'm frustrated about is that this is as short as it is. I think this series could have been expanded into even more. But I guess I'm only halfway through the series, so we'll see. But sometimes I feel like it's almost to its detriment that every single little bit is relevant to the plot. So then anytime anything happens, you know it's going to be important to what's happening, which sometimes means it all kind of feels like it's falling together like too conveniently, and it feels like a story rather than feeling like it's real. Of course it's not real. It's a story about humans trying to fight elves and like a big conflict between the elves themselves. So it's not real, but I sometimes wish it felt a little bit more real than it does. But still, some parts of this I really love. Like sometimes it's just so satisfying the way things will come together or certain things that characters will say. Great. I just remembered I'm using this microphone and I just put my hand against it, so who knows what that does. Anyway, that is a really messy kind of update of what I've been doing, and I am going to try and get more together, but as I said, I don't know about wearing makeup. It's actually good. I wanted to get into vlogging more without makeup and like be less self-conscious in that way, so let's try. It's ridiculous because I don't care if other people wear makeup, but I care about it for myself. And I want to believe that nobody else cares about it, but I also know that videos where you look more together do better. So that's annoying, but whatever. I'm going to be makeup free for a little while. Also, we're going to be exploring my natural hair color, which looks like a fair amount of grey. There is actually some darker stuff at the back, so I don't know, but I'm definitely not going to be brave enough to dye my hair anytime soon. So I guess it's fine. I wanted to experiment with like growing it out a bit and having lighter hair. Maybe not exactly in a completely uncontrolled way, but it is what it is. But I've had about a week and a half of awfulness and now like probably like a week of recovery time. So I'm going to try and start to like feel human again. I don't know. We'll try. Hello. So I'm pretty much just living my life on my armchair in my library now, and I'm happy with that. Well, it's not entirely true. I did go for a run this morning, and to be honest, it completely wiped me out. And also, I'm not going to talk about the book that I was reading on that run because that's for my next vlog, which I will start immediately after this. So right now, I'm going to wrap this vlog up because I did finish Age of War just now, actually. I tried to finish it last night and I didn't quite make it, although I think I might have been closer than I thought. The thing with, even though I have the book here, I've actually been reading it as an ebook, and these books often have at the end, do they have it in the physical version? Yeah, like quite a big glossary and like a list of all the different names. And then as well, like a big acknowledgements and an afterward from the author's wife. And so like it's always, I think I've still got a bunch to go because it's only telling me I'm like 90 something % of the way through, and then it's the end. And so I'm always kind of surprised by the endings. They never feel like the end to me because I always think I'm going to get more, and then it's just like, oh, that's the end. Anyway, despite that, the ending of this was very satisfying. Like, actually, a lot of the very end was this big battle scene, and I don't often like battle scenes, but it wasn't really like one battle scene. It was like a big battle with everyone playing their parts and a bunch of different things kind of coming together, including like one heartbreaking moment. And even though I said I wasn't invested in certain relationships, still the way that this heartbreaking moment came together, I think is just something that you can't help. Like, even though I didn't necessarily, like, I wasn't heartbroken, I was still like, oh, damn, you did that. It's just like a particular line. It's like heartbreak. So very well done how that all came together. The very ending basically is like a cliffhanger again, I guess. Maybe that's also why I keep being surprised by the endings, because they are kind of cliffhangery. So I'm glad that I will be picking up the next one, maybe not too far from now. Well, at least a couple of weeks, but I do like to have a little bit of a break so I don't get too lost in the story. But I am still looking forward to the next book and seeing what's going to happen next. I have many hopes about what certain characters will get. Like, I want happy endings for all these characters, even though I don't know that I feel like, I don't know. It's like I don't feel emotionally invested in them, but I'm like somehow intellectually invested in them. And like I was saying before, that I don't feel necessarily like I'm following along with real people's journeys. Like they feel more like characters rather than real people, and yet still I care about them. I don't know. It's quite satisfying is how I feel about this series. Maybe I still think somehow it could have been even more amazing, but still very satisfying. So I guess I did manage to read quite a few things in this vlog, but it's been a bit of a jumbly mess since my face had its meltdown. And after my run this morning, I can definitely say I'm still in recovery mode. That's going to be a very annoying time. But anyway, if you have read any of the books that I read in this vlog, I'd love to chat with you down in the comments, or let me know if you're interested in reading any of them. And also let me know if you've been reading anything great lately, or if life has been a disaster for you too. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you are doing well, and I will see you next time.